Good morning and welcome to another edition of Newspaper Today. We are reaching you live from Osbc TV. I am Adeniyi Adebayo. On today's edition of Newspaper Review, we'll start the review of stories that made it to the front page of newspapers all across Nigeria. We'll be looking at the Punch newspaper this morning. And the Punch newspaper has the following stories. IPPIS, ASU, NANS rejoice as FG liberates universities, polytechnics, others. Says development will bring university back on track. Address punishment meted out on our member, ASU. And still on the Point newspaper this morning, without subsidy, petrol should be 750 naira per litre, says World Bank. NGX All Share Index maintains run up to 0.55%. Investors gain 214 billion naira. Tinubu sacks, suspends, FAN, NAMA, NCAA, Aviation Agency CEOs. And still on the Point newspaper this morning, why Nigerians may kick out APC in 2027, Saliu Lukman. And those are the stories that made it to the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. We then move on to Daily Trust newspaper. ASU is cited as FG exempt varsities, polytechnics, orders from IPPIS. Tinubu fires FAN, NCAA, NAMA, NCAT, NIMET, NSIB bosses. CBN suspends new request for intervention loans. Subsidy payment. Increase petrol price to 750 naira per litre, World Bank tells FG. Fubara presents budget to 4 lawmakers, demolishes Rivers Assembly. And still on Daily Trust newspaper this morning, NBA condemns kidney trade in Abuja, offers victim free service. Nasarawa begins contact tracing as diphtheria kills 4 children. And lastly on the Daily Trust newspaper, EFCC declares Obasanjo's ex-power minister wanted over $6 billion fraud. And those are the stories you'll find on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper this morning. We then move on to Blueprint newspaper, and the Blueprint newspaper has the following stories. Tinubu's economic reforms making positive impacts, but World Bank. Jitters as WHO confirms 25 new COVID cases in Nigeria. Mother, 9-day-old baby killed in Ondo building collapse. Rivers crisis. State government will rebuild assembly complex, commissioner. And still on Blueprint newspaper this morning, at last, FG removes tertiary institution from IPPIS. CBN assures public of adequate cash support. CJN to judges, always consult rules before writing judgment. And lastly on Blueprint newspaper this morning, we will end insurgency, terrorism simultaneously, minister reassures. And those are stories on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper this morning. Moving on to the Guardian, the story written boldly on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Population outgrows economy amid rising dependent misery. That is coming from the national statistic. Tinubu sacks head of aviation agencies. FEC approves 6.32 billion naira contracts. Unions hails FG's exemption of universities, police, orders from IPPIS. No going back on concession of international airports, Kiyamo insists. And lastly on the Guardian newspaper, Fubara bears fangs, demolishes assembly complex, presents 2024 budget to 4 lawmakers. And those are the stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. We then move on to the New Telegraph newspaper. Rivers government demolish state assembly complex, justify actions. FEC exit varsities, other higher institution from IPPIS. Assembly confirms Ayedatiwa acting governor of Ondo State. EFCC declares ex-power minister Agboloye wanted. NNPCL Limited remits 4.5 trillion revenue in 10 months. And lastly, on the Telegraph newspaper this morning, World Bank, Nigeria avoided fiscal cliff with bold reforms. And these are the stories. Down the front page of the New Telegraph newspaper this morning. And on this note, I would like to introduce my guest on today's edition of Newspaper Review in person of Mr. Kayode Adebisi. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Yes, we'll be looking at this story from the New Telegraph newspaper that says Rivers government demolishes state assembly complex, justify actions.
It's quite interesting but very disturbing because we know that the crisis will get to this level, if not worse. But it's not justifiable. The reason being that the only legislative venue where the lawmaker can sit is the House of Assembly. It has been decided by the Supreme Court that in Agogbe case that any transaction done outside the four walls of the House is unknown to the law. The same thing in the Nakoju versus Adeleke in Oyo State. You cannot transact government business in the government house. We have 3 arms of government, the judiciary. The judiciary cannot leave their venue and go and sit in another place. So I think it's an abuse of power. We see so many cases on the Rivers crisis in court. So why can't they explore all the judicial processes before taking any action? So whatever structural defect it has does not mean that you pull out the whole building. You can still reconstruct the aspects that have defective structure. So wasting public funds because of your own political or selfish interest. Let us wait and see where the thing eventually ends.
Okay, we shall wait and see where it eventually ends. We then move on to Nigeria Tribune this morning. Nigeria Tribune has this story. Ondo Assembly declares Ayedatiwa acting governor.
Well, that is expected. But why did they delay to all this time? That's so that our politicians, they don't learn any lesson. And because of the fact that the electorate themselves, they are mostly gullible, if not for the few of them that are very focal. The issue of Ondo will still remain the way they are playing forth and back on the issue that is very simple. When an individual is having any challenges, which is natural for any human being, you don't read the individual interest above the state interest. Let him be acting in that capacity until he or she returns to the country or to the state. This one whereby you have the sitting governor being in another state for more than 4 months, and you are still saying that governance is being wrong very well. That one will not be a good way for our democracy. And the greatest threat we are seeing now is the lack of internal democracy among our political institutions. So if they are respecting the rules and regulations, the politics will not be eating up on our mouth like this because of what? So it's good that the normalcy and sanity has been returned to the state now, at least for now.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Still on Nigeria Tribune newspapers, NLC rejects proposed plan to restructure TCN, says it portends great danger.
Well, some of Nigeria, they have been having challenges, just like other branches, like Disco Gencos. But there is no way NSC can stop the government from positioning the institutions where they have the power to make law and to implement. So let us wait and see how far the implementation and the formation will go. I think what the NSC should ask for them to be carried along about the reformation, but they cannot stop the government from repositioning the institutions. The only area that may be concerned is whether they are going to impose more tariff from Nigeria. If that is their grounds, the government should also be sensitive enough that the economy is not working, people are losing their job, so many challenges facing Nigeria. So it's not this time around you will be increasing taxes or tariff. Rather, you'll be looking for the way where people will enjoy the benefits of democracy. These are at least providing viable alternatives. By now, we should be having solar energy, gas powered vehicles in abundance in the country, so that you don't rely only on fossil fuel vehicles alone. Those are the areas the government should be looking at, instead of imposing any additional cost on the people.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. We will move on to the Guardian newspaper this morning. Written boldly on the Guardian newspaper this morning, a national statistic: population outgrows economy amid rising dependent mystery.
There is no way population will not outgrow economy. It's somewhere whereby we don't have any law. If we have the law, we don't know how it will be impossible, but that maybe you restrict individual to 3 children per person, just like in China or 2. One, there is nothing like that, because it's against our African culture. We believe that you cannot limit the number of children. So far you have that. There are many factors that can cause population to be growing. Will not even be as a result of birth rate being higher than death rate. Maybe that there is no statistics. So many are non-Nigerians, they are claiming to be Nigerians. Our borders are porous. So many people are claiming the identities of people who have died, and they still come themselves citizens of that country. So unless we have the accurate data and statistics, records, that can trace the individual, we will continue to have problems like this in this country.
Okay. And still on the Guardian newspaper, Tinubu sacks head of aviation agencies. FEC approves 6.32 billion naira contract.
Well, that would have been as a result of the report from the Minister of Aviation. Maybe they have not been able to competently handle their various ministries, or they have been found wanting one way or the other. But beyond sacking, if there is any case of fraud, the individual must be made to face the wrath of the law by charging him out of court and to retrieve the patrimony, the commonwealth of the people they have legally acquired, and also to put in there people that are very competent and tested, and to be extended to other agencies too, because this administration should not allow any group of people or individual to hijack the government, just like we witnessed in the Buhari regime.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. And still on the Guardian newspaper this morning, no going back on concession of international airports, Keyamo insists.
Well, in this era where governments can hardly engage in any viable business, because in most cases experience has shown that, at least in this part of our world, government businesses are not being managed by government workers. Most of them are not patriotic. So the best thing for them to concessional needs, whether absolute concessional or partial. So where it is viable, let the private individuals, investors, let them come in, whether foreign direct investment, to ginger up the economy. And government just to put up the legislative and legal framework to monitor them whether they are in compliance with the terms of their reference. It's a good omen.
Okay, it's a good omen. Still on the Guardian nursepaper, Union hails FG's exemption of universities police orders from IPPIS.
Yes, one of the demands of the ASU that maybe that policy was not well thought out by Buhari regime, because this they were saying that most of their people, they find it difficult to get access to their salaries with the introduction of the policy, and so many other challenges in that policy. Now that it has been reversed, it's one of the reasons why there will be a kind of industrial harmony between the ASU and the federal government, and the incessant strikes may even be the thing of the past, subject to other areas that are yet to be met. The issue of their salaries with TED and some other demands from the federal government.
Okay, we then move on to the Blueprint newspaper this morning. Tinubu's economic reforms making positive impact. World Bank.
Well, World Bank is not living in Nigeria. Nigerians are living in Nigeria, and they know whether it's making impact or not. They are the ones that can actually say. And in the same way whereby you go to Ghana, they give you 5,000 naira out of maybe 200,000 you have. And you saying in that wise, there is no problem with the economy. Because nobody who is reasonable enough can say that for now it may be working within the elite or to some extent with the middle class. But what of the downtrodden, the masses in the rural areas, the fufu seller, the hewers of wood, and the fetchers of water? These are the people that should be the primary targets of any economy. Once they don't feel it, the other sectors that are feeling it will be in trouble. So it should be holistic, but it will be hardly to give him the condemnation. We still believe that the regime is still young somehow, but the next 1 year we know things will get improved.
Okay, in the next year we hope things get improved. And still on the cash policy, the CBN assures public of adequate cash supply.
It's not just assurance, but are they actually actualizing it? I just said it now that there is no money even for ATM to be used, but the POS are getting money. We don't know the miracle, how it is happening. When people are asking questions, how do you expect people that are not making money to deposit money again in the banks? Because it will not make sense to them that I have 100,000 and I have to go to Lagos to buy market. So for me now to deposit it, we now put myself in trouble. So that is the more reason why the government should sit up, and anybody who is constituting nuisance, it should be eased out of the system. Because as of now, there is scarcity of a naira note in the town, in circulation.
Okay, thank you for that. And still on Blueprint newspaper this morning, CJN to judges. Always consult rules before writing judgment.
Very disturbing that we have about 51 petitions pending at the National Judicial Council against various judges in Nigeria, despite the stern warning and guidelines. Apart on the issue of granting ex parte, the one just happened in Rivers State now. I don't know, without prejudice to the merits of the ruling, the interim injunction, I don't know how that judge will survive that, because the affected parties saying they are going to petition the NJC. Once a matter has been filed in another court, nobody should go to another court forum shopping on the same subject matters, and the judge should caution himself that instead of me giving you ex parte, because ex parte means the other party will not be there, even though if the ruling is for the 7 days, go and serve the person, make it motion on notice. That is like my political case in Rivers State. Now we don't know where it will end, but most of the judges, maybe they have one grandfather or godfather somewhere. I don't think they are yet to learn any lesson. And for the NJC as a body to really maintain their stand, they should stand their ground that whoever that is found wanting should be out of the system, because the judiciary is the last hope of the common man.
Okay, thank you for that. And still on Blueprint newspaper, Juters as World Health Organization confirms 25 new COVID-19 cases in Nigeria. I think this should serve as a warning.
Well, not only COVID-19, there are so many challenges in our health sector. In fact, so many sectors of our national life, like the economy, education, security, should have declared state of emergency. But then, so many of the states, they are not collaborating with the federal government. Everybody is now focusing as if it's only federal government we have. We have other tiers of government, and they are also getting the resources, allocation, internal revenue. What have they done? What is their scorecard to the people? Subsidy has been removed. People, they are collecting homogeneous and at least better allocation every month now. Because of the removal of subsidy, they have been able to save billions of naira monthly that have been paid to the so-called independent marketers. So what have you justified? What have you done? And you say as a governor, local government, appointed or elected, what have you done? So the citizenry should wake up, they should ask questions. Civil society should wake up and ask questions. Demand for accountability.
Talking about subsidy, on Daily Trust newspaper this morning, there's this story written boldly on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper, and it says, subsidy payment increased petrol price to 750 naira per litre, World Bank tells federal government.
That's what we are saying, that this World Bank, they are the one dictating to us. We are here to get economic independence. We rely heavily on them because they borrow us money. And you will pay the price first, you take the tunes. If you don't do their biddings, they will cease giving you that loans. And once you cannot live as loans, you are still under chains. You are not free as a nation. So that's the more reason why we should look inward. We should look inward in the sense that all the blockages we had, people are siphoning money, the government should block it. Prosecuting them alone cannot go a long way to save Nigeria, because prosecution will still cost so many resources, time of hiring SCN, wasting time calling witnesses. So in that wise, you have to ensure that you block blockages, you cover our patrimony. Abacha loot, they have been recovering Abacha loot, yes. But there is no accountability. What have we been able to do? So people have lost confidence in government in terms of fighting corruption. So unless they change the narrative, so many things will get worse. We should be very careful.
Okay. Unless the federal government change narratives, things will continue to get worse. This story is still on Blueprint newspaper. It says, "Who aid insurgency, terrorism simultaneously, minister reassures." FG to recruit, motivate security personnel.
Well, even if it need be, see the assistance of the international community. The security matter is not something you alone can easily fight on. Like this of insecurity, insurgency and banditry. Most of them come from outside the country. So why can't you partner with your neighboring country you are sharing bordering with, like Cameroon, Chad, Niger? All these issues that is happening, accidental error bombing, and so it should not occur again. You have the use of technology deployed, the drones, to be able to analyze the artificial intelligence, AI, from that drone activities before you strike. So those are the things that is required and should be urgently be done so.
Okay, thank you for that. And on Daily Trust newspaper, NBA condemns kidney trade in Abuja, offers victim free service.
Well, it's very disturbing that human organs will not be a subject of commercial activities. And we have so many so-called doctors. Because of poverty, people could not go to the very professional one, but the quack one that they will be consulting. And if they don't have the people, their barons supporting them, they will not be thriving in their trade. But we have some people that are very powerful, that are behind them, that are supporting. But the trends should be adequately investigated by government and it should be brought on her end.
Okay. Thank you. And lastly, on today's edition of Newspaper Review, EFCC declares Obasanjo's ex-power minister wanted over $6 billion fraud.
Well, maybe the former president himself will have a day in court because he has to come and testify. Former minister has already made some indicting statements against the former president. So that's why himself is very interested in the matter. So let Aguloye, let him come out and defend his allegations against the former president. They said the $6 billion is spent on that project, which is now even yet to be completed. It's still there. That he did not approve it in the cabinet. So let him come with the proceedings of the cabinet where the president approved it, or where the president gave him the order that go and do it. So it's very simple. Because the EFCC, before they declare you wanted, they must have given invitation. Once you refuse to honor the invitation, that means you have exposed yourself to the world as somebody who has no kind of integrity. So for him to now save his own integrity, to clear himself, he should come out and present himself for investigation and maybe possible prosecution if need be.
Okay. Thank you for giving insightful analysis on the stories this morning. And on this note, we'll come to the end of today's edition of Newspaper Review or Newspaper Today. Till I come your way next time, join us for another edition of Newspaper Today tomorrow. Have a wonderful morning.